Okay. Versatile Vigilante, young Vince, Uncle Vinny, back in here with a special guest, my former neighbor,
That's right.
Victor Cinco. What's going on, bro?
All good, man. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you, bro. And you brought a bottle with you. You're always welcome. Let's go.
Empty-handed, man.
I love it, man. I love it. So, cheers first.
I appreciate you.
And shout out, we got Brian behind the scenes filming. Let's go. Love that. So, how you living, bro? New year?
Yeah, man. You know, I'm trying not to say new year, new me, because you know how it is. It's just an improvement off of the old one, but just trying to make the most of it, trying to organize ourselves and do better this year than we did last year.
That's how it is, bro. That natural progression. I love that. So I definitely I have a bunch of shit I want to talk to you about. I'll be honest about it. But first, you right now are a mortgage guy. You're the mortgage man.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about how you led up to that, because I know you've dabbled in some other things in your day.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in real estate before I was in mortgage. Through the way of early in the years was construction, and then real estate investments and rental management and that sort of stuff. And one topic that sort of comes across almost every person that's trying to get in is financing. It's like the hardest thing to pull off. You know what I mean? Everybody can go house shopping. Everybody can see the fun side of it.
Yep.
But then not everybody, but a lot of people seem to hit a wall when it comes to financing. And, you know, lucky enough, thank God, that we've been able to get around that and kind of understand the system. And so I just want to help people get past that. It's a barrier that it's there because it's real, but it's not as big a thing as people think. It's
the kind of the boogeyman.
Exactly.
The reputation is worse than the actual what it is. That's hilarious, bro. I like how you put that too. Like, real estate agent, everyone can see a beautiful house.
Right.
Mortgage, it's like, what is it?
Right.
So do you still deal with real estate at all, or are you fully moved to mortgages?
So we fully moved, at least when it comes to helping customers, we're fully shifted. Like, I still do investments and flips and that sort of stuff for me and my wife do that. But, you know, sort of customer facing. Everything I've done up to now has just given me the experience to be able to help other people, right? So that's kind of how I see it.
That's interesting, bro, because I think when I met you, you were more on the flipping and construction side of things, right?
I was right in the transition period.
So what was the thing that kind of made you make that shift? Because that's a career change, basically.
Yeah. The scariest part for it has always been kind of, you go from, when you're making any career change, there's a period where you're making no money.
Yep.
Right? No matter how good you are, people got to get to know who you are. People got to get to know what you do. And unless you're just going from one job to another, in my life, for the most part, I've been self-employed. So there's always that dry period. It was somewhat planned because we went from construction to investments. And then we were able to isolate the investments where we didn't need to work for other people because the investments were making money to make that jump. It's been in the works for, I don't know, man, I want to say the last 6 years. And just in COVID, 2020, shutdown, had the time to do the license, do the test, do the studying, get it all done, and then actually make that flip. So
got you.
That's how it happened.
So it wasn't off the whim. You knew you were going to make the move. Just took time leading up to it.
And even prior to that, like, I had been involved with mortgages through other people's. Like, when I bought my house, I did all the paperwork.
Okay.
I told the broker, I said, look, whatever you need, let me know. At the end of the day, it's your file, but let me do as much as possible because I want to get to know what that's like. And similar to, you know, kind of how I've lived my life, I always just trying to be hands-on and learn from there.
I love that, bro. That's kind of why I wanted you on the show. That was a big reason. I love talking to entrepreneurs. I love talking to people that own their own business, run their own business, because it's so much you learn just from being your own guy. Like, the food is going to be put on the table from my actions.
Right.
Like, it's a different type of thing, bro. So you feel like you were always at that, like, even as a kid, like, I want to be on my own.
Man, as a kid,
like, maybe like young men, like you're coming out of high school or some shit.
You know what? No. Like, mind you, I've never been one to follow the system. It's funny, we got a poker night coming up for my high school for alumni at the beginning of February.
Okay.
And the last time we did it was 2019, and it's cool to see everybody. But if you went there and you asked anybody that in high school, they'd tell you, nah, this guy's not they wouldn't say I'm a business person, but they also wouldn't say that I'm gonna follow the path that's set. So a lot of it, I don't know. It's just sort of, I don't like being told what to do. Like, and this comes from, is the reason I've been fired from jobs in my early days. Is the reason that that I have still the drive to do and to chase this stuff, even with all the challenges. I like kind of living on my own terms, you know what I mean? And that's a big motivation behind it.
Very relatable, bro. I say that with a lot of guests because I feel like that's the common thread, bro. Whether you're in mortgages, painting, fucking podcasts, like I think a common thing is don't really like to be told what to do.
Right.
And it's important to scratch that itch because if you have that in you and you're working for shit you don't want to do, not gonna work.
You know, I got the benefit too that my parents were somewhat ambitious. Like they like my dad started businesses. My mom she's a pharmacist by trade. She was opening pharmacies back home and all that. And so I think I've got, with entrepreneurship comes a certain level of instability.
Yes.
And so I moved around a lot as a kid and, you know, kind of following, you know, where they're going, what they're doing. And I've got one friend that I can think of growing up that it was like a constant, and that was because he was my grandma's neighbor. Every summer we go back to my grandma's house and it was like that one thing. So I'm used to change, you know what I'm saying? I'm used to not like living the status quo. From there, moving to the US, moving to here, like you have to be adaptable to be able to do this. And that's one thing that I, you know, for better or for worse, got early on. It doesn't work out for everybody, but you know, we've got a path. So
that's excellent advice, man. The world's always changing, which means some shit's gonna change for you too.
Yeah.
What was your first like big venture? What was the first thing you did that you went on your own?
So I played for Team Canada in AFL. If you don't know what AFL is, look it up. It's an awesome sport. It's sort of like a mixture between rugby and soccer. And
okay. What's it stand for?
Australian football.
Australian football. Okay.
League. I went to Australia and played there.
Okay.
So I was representing Team Canada. I stayed there a year. And that was like right out of high school, 18. So that was like the first time that I'm like, I don't need anybody. I went with $500 and spent a year there. And that kind of opened up the doors to say, I can do this, bro.
Right.
Like I've never looked back, right? Like what I'm talking about in terms of having to have some sort of guidance and support. It's like, nah, I love my wife. She's super supportive in what I do, but I don't need the structure. I'm happy to just get me out there and let's see what happens.
That's where the fun lies, man. The parts where it's not too planned.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. That's where the creative comes in.
Yes.
Right. That's where you gotta figure out how to stay afloat. You gotta figure you tread water. You learn to tread water while you're already in it. It's you gotta do it. You got no other option, right? So that's part of it. I'm sure you know about it.
Yeah, man, the treading water is so true because it's basically you're knowing that you're not always going to be moving fast.
Right.
You're almost never going to be going fast, but keep your head above the water and you'll be good.
You stay there long enough and then you get a push from a wave that gets you. And then you do it again. That's how it goes.
Exactly. It's like, again, no matter really what game you're in, you need to be in the game for a while.
Right.
There's a lot of, like, you can go fast and burn.
Right.
But if you're around, the shit usually works out if you're doing the right stuff. If you're focused.
Yeah. It's time.
Time.
Real estate, back to it. It's time in the market is better than timing the market, which is what a lot of people are trying to do right now. Right? Just put the time in and it'll pay out.
Explain that a little bit. I've heard that before.
Right.
Time in the market is better than timing the market.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit more. What that means.
Well, I mean, a good sort of cross reference is the stock market, right? Because that's something that more people are familiar to in terms of cycles, right? Market goes up, market goes down, market goes up, goes down, but in the long run, it's always a steady upcline, right? For the most part, if you're looking at the market as a whole. If you're picking individual companies, some companies will survive, some companies will fail. But the market as a whole, you're betting on the economy, you're betting on a country. You know what I mean? In the case of Canada and the U.S., it's always going to go up, regardless if there's bumps along the way. And so the same thing is for real estate. You have to spend time in the market, meaning you buy a house for the long-term wealth building capacities of it, not so you can make a quick flip. And if you're gonna do a quick flip, it's not one, right? Money's made in the numbers. So out of every 10, you're gonna fail 2. But if you're just doing one and you just happen to do that one that loses money, then you're in the negative. So you've got to look at this as a long-term thing and not what's happening right now, where everybody's trying to figure out where the interest rates are going to stop, where the market's going to rebound. Everybody's keeping the money in their pockets, right? And it happened in earlier last year where people were thinking it's just going to go up and up and up and up, and those people that bought in February are in a hard spot right now.
Yeah.
Right? So time the market. It's not going to happen. Spend time in the market. You'll be all right. Those people that had houses in 2007, 2006, if they hold on to it, they'd be fine. Right?
Absolutely.
That's a good example because it's recent enough that people are aware of it.
A house in 2006 is damn near doubled by now.
Yeah.
Probably more sometimes.
Yeah.
That's very good advice, bro, because I think that's important to talk about, especially for my age group, like kind of in that buying range.
It's an awkward spot, eh?
It's an awkward spot because you're like, should I flip a house? Meanwhile, what the fuck do you know about flipping a house?
Right.
And do you really have the money to flip 2 or 3?
Right.
Or is it, just hold on? Or is it just be smart and look at what you want, and do you have the money to afford it? I think the sexy option overtakes the real, like, smart option sometimes.
Yeah. If you look at a lot of these like these big guys, entrepreneurs, talking Gary Vee, Alex Hermosi, any of these big guys that have sort of taken over social media, if you listen to them or if you watch enough of it, these guys are saying, it's entrepreneurship has been made to be a cool thing. Real estate has been made to be a cool thing. Like, people are getting, some people are lucky. 2020, you bought a house. 2020, you bought a house, and you made some good money, right? But it doesn't always work out like that.
Yep.
So it's not cool. It's tough, bro. It's tough. Like, you're alone a lot of times, right? And people don't want to, or people don't realize that. People just see the flashy stuff because it's what sells, right? It's the same thing with real estate. A lot of people wanted to get into it because they wanted to make $100,000 in 3 months. Listen, money can be easy to make, but money takes either work or knowledge. So if you don't have the knowledge in real estate, then you better bet you're gonna fucking put in some work, because you're not gonna make money just by buying and selling it, right? It's something that if you thought of it that way, you'd think twice before doing it.
Right. If it was that fucking easy, everyone should be doing it. Yeah. And it's obviously not that easy. Yeah. What were some of the things that made it tough in real estate? Like, was it that there's so many different realtors out there? Is it that a house could be fucked and you don't even know it? Like, what are some examples?
I don't... so it's hard for me to answer that question from what's hard. Like, hard hasn't been in the real estate aspect for me.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, I started construction in 2011. So I started investing in 2018. I spent 7 years learning everything about a house before I even put $1 into it.
Got you.
Right. I've built connections with contractors. I've built connections with realtors. I set myself up to do this, right? But the truth is that buying the house is the easiest part.
Okay.
Because getting reliable contractors, is hella difficult. It's not a walk in the park. People who are doing well aren't going to be, quote unquote, price qualified to do flips because they're too expensive. These guys are doing houses for the end user who's willing to spend a little bit of money, who wants that perfect quality, who want the finished product to be something that they're going to live with for a long time. Whereas a lot of flippers, in order to make their profits, they've got to get somebody who's going to do good work fast and cheap, which is a whole nother topic.
It's much easier said than done.
It doesn't happen very often, right? But yeah, I think the biggest focus for this business is to have the right team around you.
Okay.
Right? Be it realtors, mortgage agents, contractors, stagers, photographers, videographers. You gotta look at it as who are the people that are gonna influence this project, and how do I get better people around me? That's the biggest challenge.
Got you. And would you say that trust would be the most important? Like a good team with a stager, with a mortgage broker, would you say trust is that common?
Trust is huge.
Yeah.
Trust is huge. Trust is what is the basis of this business. You want to know that when people say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. You want to know that they're going to do the right thing. And it's not because mistakes are not going to happen, because shit will happen.
Always.
Things are going to go wrong. But you want to have the people around you be, one, accountable, and you to trust them enough that, when something does happen, you're going to come to me, you're going to tell me, we're going to sort it out. It also depends on how you behave towards them too, right? You got to give people trust. You can't just demand trust and then, it's like kids. They come and they tell you I did something wrong and you chop their head up. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, they're not going to tell you next time.
Yeah, you got to, it's a balancing act. But trust is the base for relationships.
100%, man. I think we forget that with just like, oh, the market's so crazy, houses are so crazy, got to be super aggressive. You're still dealing with people to get the job done.
Right.
You can't just get this house without talking to anybody.
Right.
It's got to be a good process.
Right.
Fucking, bro, buying a house where you're dealing with bad people can take, your hair's going to turn gray, man.
Yeah,
like, that's a lot of money, and then you don't trust who's involved.
Yeah. And then the thing, too, is that, when a realtor tells you, this is a good price to go in, huh? I've been doing this for a while, but you want to get $50,000 less, and you lose the house, whose fault is it?
Exactly.
Trust the professional. This is the best way. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust anybody. Do your research before you go and commit to somebody. But once you commit to them, you committed to it for a reason.
Yes.
You committed because that was the most qualified person for you, right? And experience isn't just the one thing. You guys connected on a personal level. You guys connected on a spiritual level. You believe in the same things. You want the same things. And so that's why there's so many realtors. That's why it's not like Walmart taking over in the real estate business.
Personal.
It's personal. Everybody's different.
Absolutely. And you're right, bro. Like I think because a lot of people live in a house, they're comfortable telling a real estate agent what to do. Meanwhile, a good real estate agent, that's their job, bro. That's your profession.
Right.
Trust them.
Right. You don't go to your doctor and tell him what to do.
Exactly. What's the difference?
Right.
Very well said. So you're like a year in the mortgage game now-ish?
Well, I got my license 2020. So I'm about to go into, the way it works is you do your course, you get your license, but until you're with an actual brokerage, you're not fully licensed. So I've been with a brokerage for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 years in, is it about what you expected?
Yeah. The first year I was not as aggressive as I am now. That's probably why you've noticed it for a year.
Right.
But it was just a lot of learning the behind the scenes, trying to understand. I didn't want to be somebody who came out the gate saying, I'm a mortgage agent, come with me, because I don't have all the information. I can't best help my clients. It's unrealistic, right? I needed to follow some people. I needed to know the behind the scenes. And now I feel comfortable enough that I know I can help. I know I have the skills.
Love that example, bro. Because, we all want right out of the gate to be the boss. But what if you get an amazing opportunity and you're not ready for it, you're not built for it? It's a waste. Let me take some more time and build this shit, and I'll be ready for that big opportunity. Yeah.
It's a balance. Taking chances and being ready. It's like a ladder.
Yep.
You take a chance, then you learn, then you're ready for the next one, right? That's sort of how it works.
So I hope you're okay with talking about this, because we talked about it off the camera, where you mentioned in the past in other businesses you maybe went a little too fast with investing in sort of stuff, making purchases. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. My first real business is been renovations. I opened up a construction company in 2014, I think. 2014. I opened up a construction company, and I said yes to as many projects as I could, right? So the first job I ever had was off of an app, like one of those sourcing out apps to change a doorknob. The guy got locked out of his house. I'm like, yeah, I'll bring a ladder. I'll climb through your window and come back and open, right? Like that was made $100 or whatever it was because it was an emergency call. But then from there, it's just been, you know, if a project's put in front of me, I need to know 70% of the project. The other 30, I'll figure it out. That's sort of how it's always been. So it's a way that I've been able to progress and grow and get more and bigger, challenging projects. But with that comes a sense of entitlement. Like now I'm the guy, right? Like now I'm the guy on the block that knows how to do it, right? So I got to look the part. I got to play the part. I got to get an office the part. I got to get a truck the part. And it hasn't always been the right choice, right? You said in the beginning we were neighbors. We're neighbors because I had an office here, and it did us well, but the money that I was spending on the office wasn't really justified. The money was the office was an ego thing for me.
Right.
It was like, I have my office. Come see me at the office, right? I got a commercial address on paper, but it was no different than anything I could have done in my living room, dining kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Most of my work was on the road anyway. Look, going to see clients in the truck. It's just, that's my office. That's what I could spend some money on. Because realistically, I'm on the road 7 hours out of 8, right? And you know, I don't regret it. So I don't want it to come off the wrong way. I don't regret any of it. It's all been a learning experience, and it helps me to not make bigger mistakes as I go, right? It's good that it was a few $100s a month and not a few $1,000s a month. But yeah, you can get carried away.
I'm so glad you talked about that, bro, because that's that real honest side of business, of living, man. You're never going to be perfect. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And we should never regret those decisions because we learn from them.
Right.
If you didn't do that, maybe you would have done that at a crazier level, and then it would really hurt.
That's the thing. You got to make the mistakes early.
Yes.
Make the mistakes early, you'll be okay.
You know what's funny, bro? Especially in like social media age, I think people fear mistakes. Meanwhile, it's the best time to make a mistake because people forget so fast.
Right.
No one cares. There's so much shit in the world. No one's going to give you a hard time for spending too much on an office for a few months.
Right.
Because there's a million things going on today.
And you know what, though? Also, too, watch who you surround yourself around. Because if you've got that in your head, so who's going to hold it against you? Right? That's the question.
Exactly.
And if you can name a few people, then you probably should just look at your circle.
Agreed.
They shouldn't be holding it against you, right?
Clean it up.
Yeah, exactly. Surround yourself with good people, because good people say, good, you tried, now get a move on and do the next thing. Don't dwell on it. Don't hold yourself. You know, most people don't even have the guts to try. So take that as a lesson and move on. So it's like social media. I won't name names, but I had issues with that too, and I'm telling you that from experience. Like, just the circle of people that I was around, even at a distance. Like, I'm not talking about my close circle. I'm talking about people who were, a handshake away type of thing,
right?
An arm's length away. That I felt the pressure of having to impress them, and then either do certain things or not do certain things based on how their reaction would be. And then COVID happened, and I realized that, like, bro, all this shit, everybody's in their own world. Everybody's in their world with their problems, and everybody's got the same amount of shit. And anybody who is, like, sort of projecting stuff onto you is likely dealing with it themselves. So you got to detach yourself from that, and social media makes it hard, but if you got to delete the apps for 3 months and work on yourself and keep going.
Very wise words.
That's a good. I hadn't thought of it, but like I've thought of it internally. I hadn't thought of it in terms of like a conversation, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
No, I love that, bro, because I completely agree. It's you know what, we have to, you said, like, delete the app or whatever, chill. Yeah. We have to make that change. Like, people are never going to stop doing bullshit. Like, you're never going to stop seeing bullshit. We've got to be the filter. Like, we got to be the ones to, if we see that a change needs to be made, has to be made.
Yeah.
So it's a great conversation.
Yeah, Netflix did a great show about it, how all these apps are always just trying to get your attention.
That's social experiment or some shit.
Yeah. And I watched that and I was like, holy.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I thought it was just habit. Like, I thought it was just a habit to pick out your phone and take a look at it. And it's not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it gets to a habit, but it wasn't just me being curious, you know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
we've got a whole, like, basically a whole population battling an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all have addiction to the internet, to our phone, like, and it's no one's fault. Like, it's shit's so addictive, man. It's fucking the strongest drug ever, I think.
catch myself.
Everyone.
And I worry for, like, ChatGTP just came out at the end of November, whatever.
Crazy.
I worry about, my kids are 8 and 15, and both of them have not lived a life where the internet wasn't around.
Oh.
Like, I remember when the internet wasn't around.
Yep.
And the internet is a beast, and it affects me, and it's in good ways, bad ways. Like, it's I couldn't live with it without
No one
it.
could.
I couldn't live without it now. And so I can't imagine what they're going to go through with AI developments and all that sort of stuff. The world's going to be a different place.
It's going to be crazy, bro. Is that a thing that you're dealing with now where, like, your kid comes home and is like, Dad, let me get the newest iPhone, and you have to kind of...
Yeah, not my son's still young. His thing is like Fortnite.
Okay.
Which is like good and bad. Like, he spends too much time on there, but it's definitely something where he's somewhat learning to build relationships, because he's talking to kids all over the world and, you know, different languages, and
Right.
the guy wants to speak Spanish just so I can talk to other people, right? So that's something that I wouldn't have had growing up. But for my daughter, like, a few years ago, she's better. She's much better now. But there was a time where I couldn't say anything without her fact checking me. And so you can imagine, like, growing up, my parents would say something, and that, you know, that was gold. That was it. Like, that's set in stone. You don't question your parents. And whether it's true or not, like, later on you grow up, but you realize that, like, they said that for a reason.
Yes.
Right? And when she was 11, 12, 13, you couldn't say anything to her without fact checking it. Right? So it's a headache. It's a headache. It was something that it's hard to deal with.
Right.
It's hard to, your entire job as a parent is to try to navigate your kids, keep them safe, have them learn, and just overall just be a good person. And it's hard to do that when your word doesn't matter, because there's always something more accurate or something better out there. So
I love that you brought that up, bro, because I think we can easily relate that back to the houses. Like, your daughter is only 11, but she has the same info as you have.
Right.
But she hasn't lived the life you have.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of shit happens. Like, everyone's an expert on business, but you've never run a business.
Right.
Everyone's an expert on building or selling a house. You've never done shit.
Yeah.
I can look up a website too. Yeah. And I think that's a really good thing to talk about, because knowledge without the understanding of that knowledge is nothing.
Right.
You gotta info. I mean,
it's info.
It's info.
Yeah, it's data.
Data, exactly.
If you don't know how to use the data is just a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
How do you read that? How do you implement that into real world scenarios?
Real world experience, I think, will always be, unless you want to live your whole life on the metaverse or whatever. Like, you gotta go out and do shit.
Yeah.
You know.
I've seen that happen tons of times with clients where people will hop online and say, yo, you know, something doesn't look straight. And here's the thing with the internet, you find what you're looking for.
Yep.
So if you put something into Google and says, you know, why shouldn't I do something versus, or you put why should I do something, either way you're gonna find it.
Exactly.
So you have to it's in some ways it's good, because you can just, you know, be a little more educated, but you're not the expert. So if somebody's doing some work, if you got a plumber in your house, you know, be educated in plumbing, but you're not the expert. If you hire the person, if you've screened them and that's the right person to hire, then trust them to do the right thing.
Exactly. Let them do their job.
Yeah.
They have a fucking phone too.
Yeah.
You know, we all could look this shit up.
That's right.
No, that's good, bro. That's the type of shit I really like to talk about, because it can be applied to business and real life. Mm-hmm. Relationships, anything. Yeah. Anything you want.
Yeah.
So I actually saw you are posting quite a bit more, even going back into last year, like little clips, reels, TikToks and shit.
Right.
When did you make that decision to go a little bit harder in that?
Well, Brian's been with me since 2020, 21.
Okay.
Right, and I've been wanting to do it for at least 3 years before that. I just can't get myself to do it. This is one of those investments that paid off, right? Like, this is one of those things that you're not going to see me 5 years from now say I spent too much too early, right?
Yes.
But I've I don't know, we spent like the first 6 months, we went a little hard and then flopped and then hard and then flopped, and then I realized that you don't gain any traction by doing that. It's not about how much you can do in short periods of time. It's not sprinting. It's not the Olympics. It's a race, a long cross country, right? You gotta go, even if it's once a week, if it's slow, keep the consistency going, and that's how it starts to compound. So I kind of came to that realization, I don't know, halfway through last year, sometime in the summer. On our last project, we did a whole episode of the entire process, which we'll be releasing soon.
Okay.
From searching from the house, buying the house, doing the entire rental, and then the numbers at the end. And that was the first time where I'm like, wow, all this time that we're spent into it, it's realized. We see what the final product is. And I'm not talking about the house. I'm talking about I can go. I don't have a good memory. Another story, but I can go back and take a look at the entire process. And I spent so much time looking at other people's process, HGTV and shit like that, that it's like nice to look at what we've done, what we created, and hopefully knock on wood, help some people along the way.
Absolutely, bro. I think it's an excellent decision. I have a friend of mine who's in like the drywalling industry, and he started to talk to me about that too, where it's like, I'm like, bro, just record 5 minutes of your day, and you can have little 30-second clips from that for a week. Like, we need to, because rappers and actors and models, that's cool, but your industry's cool too. You can make a cool project, and it doesn't have to be shitty. It could be sick. Like, it could be well done and fun and cool to watch. I'm glad that you're diving deeper into that, bro.
I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, in the digital age, like, it's everybody Googles everything before they buy it. So being there, it's good for business. But I also like just looking back, and it's like,
it's beautiful.
Like a journal. You know what I'm saying?
It's a journal.
Back years. Like, I'm hoping that my kids are grown, and I don't know whether they're gonna do the same thing I do or not, and I'm not gonna pressure them. I know my daughter is not. She's into health and sciences, but if my son is or isn't, just like, who was my dad? You know what I'm saying? My grandkids, who was he? It's dope to have that footage.
It's really, it's amazing. Documentation, man. Yeah. It's honest.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because I know you've been doing this for some time, and I've gone, I look my people up.
Okay.
I've gone.
As do I.
Yeah. I've gone, and I've looked up, and I've seen that you've been doing it for a long time, and where you started, and the caliber of guests that you've had come through, and the quality of the interviews coming from. And I don't know if you were doing it before. I only see what's out there, and you've progressed. Awesome. Like, it's inspiring. That. So I wanted to know, kind of like how. I don't want to flip the interview, but
ask it, bro. I like to talk too.
How'd you get into it, and what got you into it? What's your motivation? That sort of stuff.
Man, so I could basically copy and paste your story from the beginning. I probably, if you asked my friends from high school, they might not have said, I don't think Vince would be like a business owner, but he definitely is his own guy. Like, I've always been like that, right. And then always, even from like when I was basically leaving high school, podcasts started to be a thing. Like, Joe Rogan was the first one I heard of that was doing that shit. A couple other guys, and from the minute I saw it, I'm like, I think that could be cool, but I never touched it. Mm-hmm. And then I got a job, 9-to-5 sales job, and a few months into that, it wasn't bad at all, but I didn't like my lifestyle. I didn't like that I was going to work, coming home, essentially doing nothing, and then repeat.
Right.
I was watching TV and shit. I wasn't doing shit.
Right. The rat race.
Rat race, man. And I knew I was in it, but I just was whatever. And then one night I was just like, nah. I had the microphone, or I'd already been thinking about doing it, and I just put it off many times. Like, oh, I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to be a podcaster. Like, thinking of things a million years down the line, even though I never recorded myself once.
Right.
So one night I just finally bit the bullet. I'm like, fuck this, man. I'm making an episode. And then I made a few other ones, and I was still debating on releasing them, or I didn't release it.
Right.
And then I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to make 5 of them, and I'm going to put them out.
Right.
And from there, bro, I always enjoyed doing it. Like, I never really stopped. I'd have months, like, at the beginning it was very hobby. Like, I was just no video, raw as hell. Like, I would do an episode and then not do one for a few months, but I always loved doing it. And then COVID was that thing that, leading up to COVID, I was starting to get like, all right, I gotta go a little harder here. I was growing up a bit, had a little more life experience. I'm like, let me see what I can do with this. And then COVID hit, and I had nothing else to do.
Right.
Again, I'm back to that same stage. I'm working during the day, but there's nothing to do after.
Right.
So I'm like, no, I gotta go harder. And this office space, I think, was the thing that really pushed me, because I realized to myself, I'm like, if I want to do what I want to do, I can't do it in my parents' house, bro. It's just like, I can't have people coming through. I can't be answering questions from them all day.
Right.
You know, it's just safety.
Right.
So this office space, I used it. That was 2020.
Right.
I'm like, this now, I can really try. Like, give me some time here. I could fuck this space up. I could do what I want to do with it. Let's see what we can do.
And you're putting an investment. Like, you
exactly.
have to milk it in a way.
Yes.
It's a good way to get, if you're on the fence about something, getting you to do it. If you invest, whether it's time or money or whatever, once you make the investment, then for some reason the rest of you has to, like, okay, now I gotta make it worth it.
You're not, bro, you can't go to the casino with $0, man. You gotta put something up.
Right. So, you know, have you posted every piece? Like, did you post from the first one?
Yeah, the first ones I did was 0 footage. It was all very raw audio.
Right.
And I would just post them on YouTube and or SoundCloud, wherever, and I'd post it on like Facebook once, and on to the next one. So everything's still up there, bro. If you go to my Spotify,
no skeletons in.
I've never deleted one episode. That's a fact. And if you go back to my first ones, they were raw as hell, bro. Like what I was talking about, and like sound quality and shit.
Right.
Videos are also. I've never deleted one thing, bro.
That's
so
amazing.
YouTube, SoundCloud, you want to find all that shit, it's there. Because it's like what you said. It's a catalog, man.
Yeah.
I made it. I said this shit. No one can speak for me.
Right.
You know, that video, if you disagree, cool.
Right.
I said it, though.
Right.
And I said it how this...
And you said it how you wanted to say it at the time. And
it's there.
And people... And you're allowed to grow and progress through life. Just what you did then and what you said then
100%,
isn't who you are
bro.
now, but it was who you know.
I've always been that way. I always knew, even as a kid, like, yo, there's more to this. Like, I'm going to grow up one day. I never was that kid at, like, 16 going, literally, like, driving 100 miles an hour to impress the girls. Like, I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to crash my fucking car, bro.
Right.
You know, there's more to this. And I think documenting yourself at younger ages, and I think it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that same guy I was when I started this podcast, but I remember how I felt, and it's nice that it's still there. If I ever want to go check it, I can, you know?
I think that's dope, man.
Appreciate that, bro. So that's essentially my story. It was more or less stemming out of boredom and needing to do something of my own, where it was not my family's, it was not my friends, it was not my works, it was mine. Like, love it or hate it, I approve this shit.
And where do you want to take it? Like your guests and your sort of POV in life, where are you planning on taking?
Man, I still can't tell you. I know for sure. I love talking to people that are... One thing I've noticed about podcasts, like anything else, is the flashy shit is still, like, hunted for. Like, get a rapper in here to say some really offensive shit, and it's gonna blow. And I just don't like that type of shit. I'd rather interview someone like yourself. I just had shout out Cruz, tattoo shop owner. Like, these are people really first doing their thing, not behind a computer.
Yeah.
Like, you're outside. That's what I like. Building relationships.
I don't know when this happened or when the podcast was, but you had a guest in here, E.M. Lourde.
Yes. Shout out E.M. Lourde, man.
Yeah, I went to school with him. Me and him were
we're fucking
friends.
way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I had no idea. Like, I just kind of came on your Instagram once and I noticed it.
That's amazing, man.
He's doing well, man.
Bro, talk about consistency. This guy who consistently puts out work. That's what I like. I want to, because I'm that way.
Right.
I've said it on here before. Flashy, like, the highest production is not what I'm here for.
Right.
But if you want to see consistent, good conversation and cool shit,
right,
got it for you.
Yeah.
And Earl's a good example. You're a good example. Two completely different industries.
Right.
But it's the same. You're working hard, man.
Yeah. Personality wise, you need that. You need that obsession with what you're doing to able to see it.
Passion.
Through. Yeah.
Gotta love it, bro. That's the main thing. I actually enjoy this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not coming here because it's bullshit.
Right.
I like to do it.
Right.
Yo,
it shows though.
You got to, man.
It shows. That's the cool thing about this is sort of like a conversational setting when it comes to podcasts, is that at the end of the day, the production value isn't the best part of it. You see a lot of these YouTubers and a lot of these people trying to do pranks or skits and stuff like that, which is like they have to pull it off in a way that is going to be engaging. But when you're having a real conversation with a real person, that stuff resonates. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason why we still read books from some in Roman times.
Absolutely.
Laying out their thoughts.
Exactly. Right? Real conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it's, again, we're not like fact check. Yo, bro, please do. Conor McGregor, cut us a check, man.
Yeah, for
no, that's life, bro. Thank you, man. I'm down. That's life. It's about, bro. You're even think about when you're with your wife. Like, it's not when you went to the nicest restaurant. It's when you had your like funny ass memory. You know, it's that real type of shit.
And some of the best times have been at home.
Exactly,
some of the best
bro.
nights have been watching Netflix and chilling. Literally,
company.
I'm not talking about Netflix and chill. I'm talking literally conversation, just chilling. We're up till 2 o'clock in the morning talking shit.
Real
and
life.
we've gone to some fancy restaurants and turned around and be like, yeah, that was okay. That was it for me. Like, food wasn't it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That was overrated. But yeah, it's relationship based.
It's relationship based.
It's the reason I like. You asked me why I got into mortgages. It's relationship based. It's understanding somebody's life, not just in not they want to buy this house, but why they want to buy this house, right? They got kids that are moving to university in a couple of years. Well, you don't need a mansion then. You know what I mean? You got to understand the entire thing to be able to give them good service. And the only way that they're going to give you that information is just by, we're friends. Like, I'm on your side. We're a team, essentially, is what it is. And the more people you meet, the more you see the broad spectrum of life. You know what I mean? Like, it's dangerous to just be in your own world. There's so much out there, so many different points of view, beliefs, life experiences. Life is an interesting
Oh my gosh, bro! We once you think you have it figured out.
Yeah. That's the fun of it.
That's the fun of it, exactly. That's scary, and I saw this quote where it's like the strong man is not the one that has no fear; it's the one that has fear and does it anyway.
Right.
And that's 100% I agree with.
Right.
Bro, I'm sure you have this all the time where it's like, holy fuck. But it's like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's life.
Bro, and that's almost the point of life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a really good spot for a sustained period of time. I have, and it sucks. Like, you get bored.
Yep.
You get bored. You start, like, you can't figure out what to do. I've had the opportunity to take a month off, and I can't just sit on my hands, watch TV, and do all the things I want to do. No, I want the challenge. I want make me suffer. It's like workout. Make me suffer a little bit so I can feel good about it on the other side of it. Because if it's just given to me, then it's just given to me. There's nothing to feel good about.
Exactly, man. Very well said. Like in the podcast world too, and I want to ask you about your podcast plans too. Podcast world, for some reason, maybe it's anything though, it attracts people messaging you and be like, you want like free followers, or you want to like all this weird shit. Like people just try, and it's like, no, that's not what we're in this for. I don't want that.
Right.
I want to meet real people. A million fake followers is nothing, bro. That doesn't help you.
Right.
You don't learn from it. I want those learning experiences. I want those awkward experiences, see how I fucking handle it, you know?
Right.
It's not about the fucking numbers all the time.
Right.
You know, so that's one thing podcast advice for you. People are going to ask you to like do all this shortcut shit.
Because I
don't even address it, man.
I get into the motivational stuff sometimes, right? And I'll follow people who are entrepreneurs and are in a similar field, or even if it's different field, but same sort of mindset. And I've noticed that for each one of those people, they've got like 5 or 6 different fake accounts.
Yeah, it's just so corny, bro.
Yeah, it's a weird world out there.
It's weird, man. So, you posted it, I think this week, where you're talking about doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Have you made an episode yet?
I've got so the first episode hasn't gone out yet. The first episode is just going to be me sort of why,
Right.
Which you're going to find out about.
Excited.
But I've got a few guests lined up. We've got, I think, 6 or 7 guests lined up, which is nice.
That's really good, bro. And it'll be real estate focused?
Real estate and sort of synergies, like if you're an accountant, right? If you're running a real estate business, you need an accountant, legal,
right.
Mortgages, a little bit of everything. Financial planner. The reason that I guess the podcast is more so revolved around finance education.
Yep.
And just giving people the ability or the knowledge or the how to make things happen in their lives, right? So that comes in a lot of different ways, but financials always seem to be a barrier, like I said before. So, hopefully we can get through what I've gone through what my guests have gone through. Hopefully we can get some knowledge out there that'll help people. That's the idea of the podcast.
Excellent, bro. I'm excited for that. Yeah. That's the type of shit that we need more of, like just real shit. Do you have a question about this? Let's answer it for you. It's not about
podcasting?
Or just in general, like, for example, if you are talking to someone that you and someone else have a lot of experience in mortgages or whatever, answering questions that a lot of people have.
100%.
Love that, man.
100%.
Just
if I
give some good info.
If I can get to a point where weekly or every episode we can do just Q&A, like we're literally like, yo, you have a problem, you have a challenge, this is the solution, or at least the best way that we know how, then that's what I would do. Because it's like, for every one person that is willing to ask and has the balls to ask, there's hundreds that have the same question that just can't get themselves to ask or can't get themselves to pull the trigger.
100% agree, man. I'm excited for that. Does that have a kind of a date of when you might drop those first ones?
We're shooting the first one, the second one technically next week, and I don't know. Are we gonna drop it in the same week, or are we gonna drop it the next week?
I think next week.
The next week.
Okay.
Brian will take some time to just make sure it's edited and ready to go, and we're not gonna edit out stuff. We just want to make good
raw shit
content. You know what I mean? So
good, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited too, man. Keep an eye on that. We'll post that.
You're part of my inspiration.
Oh my guy, what the fuck? That made my day, man. Let's go.
I've been like I said, I've been wanting to do content for a long time, but I was one of those people who fell into the flashy spectrum of this. Like, I want to have eyeballs. I want people. not for the wrong reasons. I want people to know who I am, so when I provide my services, they're getting the best.
Yeah.
Like, whether it was in construction before, it's in mortgages now, they're going to get the best service, they're going to get the best product. But the only way that they can get that best is if they know me. If they don't know me, then it doesn't matter how good I am, it's just me. A lot of my work started to come through referrals and in construction, and that's what I want to do, the same thing for mortgages. But I thought the way to get eyeballs was to do being flashy, and now I understand, and just watching your stuff, it's like there's a lot of value that can be built just in the conversation. Just come, let's hang out, let's joke for an hour or 2 or 3 or whatever. Like, you see some of these Joe Rogan podcasts that go forever, right? Like, yeah.
I completely agree, bro. Because you also, like, especially if you're talking to someone that's well respected in what they do, you kind of mix audiences,
right?
And it's real audiences mixing with real audiences. It's a nice growth,
right?
You know,
right.
That's what the guys that want to just take the buying the follower route, that's gone now, because now you have fake shit, and now you're not really trusted.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the thing I noticed too is that people aren't just one thing. Like,
yes,
like, you're not just into podcasts or art. Like, I'm not just a mortgage agent. I like to have a drink. I like to go play sports. I like to hang out. You know what I'm saying? And there's different ways that the audience too can cross-reference that stuff. So yeah,
exactly, man.
I agree with you. But yeah, man, you're giving me some notes, whether directly or indirectly.
I appreciate that, bro. And vice versa though. Vice versa with the home shit. Like, that's why bro, I got home questions all the time, so that's also why I wanted you on here.
Yeah.
I love it, man. So okay, question for you.
Go for it.
For a first time home buyer, someone that's looking to buy their first spot to live in, not to flip, what's the most important thing for them to, like, this has gotta be
a must. Yeah. I mean, there's different stages when somebody wants to buy their first house. There's the people who want to, right?
Right.
And there's the people who are going to. So if you're somebody who wants to, keep watching HGTV, do whatever the fuck you're doing right now, because until you start taking action, it's not going to happen. Right? So for the people that are going to, whether it's going to be today or a year from now or 2 years from now, the first thing to look at is, am I in a financial position to afford this? And I'm not talking about getting a mortgage. I'm talking about, can I afford a home? There's a lot of people who, like, there's a lot of expenses that come with a home, for starters. When you're a renter, when you've been renting your whole life, or if you've lived with your parents, there is no, like your $1,800 a month that you pay in rent. It's not just like, oh, I can afford $1,800, let me go pay $1,800 for a house. It doesn't work like that. So understanding your financial position, whether that's, internally, do some research, do a budget, figure out what your expenses, your income, your expenses are, and work towards that, or work with a financial planner if that's the case. For me, I always like my first touch point with clients is, how are you financially before I put you into a mortgage? How are you financially? And second, can you even afford this? So we're going to look at what your qualifying sort of metrics are at. There's really 3 things that matter for a mortgage: your credit, your income, and your down payment.
Yeah.
Everything else is a variation of, but those are the 3 things that matter. So most times you could get a mortgage if you have 2 of those and not all 3, but you're going to get the best mortgage at the best rate if you've got all 3, right? So looking at that, what we call a pre-approval or a pre-assessment, and then from there, that you may not be able to. Here's some advice for people.
Yes, need it.
You got all these people coming up who live with their parents, who live on the Danforth, or live in Scarborough, or live in Etobicoke, and they want to buy their own house, but they're in a market where it's not really conducive for first-time home buyers, right? Now, if you've got a job at Walmart, there's Walmarts everywhere. Or if you've got a job online, you can work from anywhere. So consider going outside the city.
Right.
Get a house in Hamilton, get a house in London, because you're going to build your way back here, right?
Right.
If you're somebody who has a career downtown Toronto or you're in a financial district, that's a different story because you're building your career, which will then get you the house. Right. But it all sort of starts, like I said before, you got to look at your entire life, not just your house. Get a pre-approval.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of buying a house today, tomorrow, next year, get a pre-approval. It's the only way you're going to know where do you stand and where do you need and be able to close that gap.
And you can do that for people.
Of course.
Very wise words, man.
Yeah.
See, that what you said, it made it very simple, but if you don't know, you don't know.
It's there's a sense of maybe embarrassment. Maybe embarrassment is not the right word, but somebody who's making $40,000 a year, $45,000 a year, maybe the credit isn't great, but it's not bad, and they only got $5,000 in the bank, and they want to own a house. Everybody. I mean, most people want to own a house.
For sure.
But these people will look at themselves and say, I'm not there. I'm not ready. I'm not going to go and waste somebody's time. The truth is that the cycle for somebody from the point you meet them to the point, and you know this because you're guest, but from the point you meet this to the point you transact can be 3 years, 5 years, right? A house, the cycle of buying a house for one family is 7 years. So that means that one person, if you catch them at the beginning, you're going to nurture them, be there with them, give them advice for 7 years before they go buy that house. And people don't see it that way. I'd rather get somebody in who's at that $40,000 mark with regular credit, and we build you up, than for them to not come, because if you don't change what you're doing, you're going to be in the same spot years later. So
exactly.
At some point, it's one of those things where life keeps going, right? And so if you go through the natural progression of life, a house isn't a necessity. Owning a house isn't a necessity. So you're going to go, you're going to finish school, you're going to get a girl or a man, you're going to have kids, right? You're going to get yourself into a lot of financial responsibilities where now you're paying your rent, you've got to pay for the kids, you've maybe got a car, you've got bills you got to pay for.
Yeah.
And you're not going to come across an opportunity that's just going to all of a sudden give you everything to be able to buy a house. You don't need the house. It's something you got to work for. And so the earlier you start, before those things start to tack in, the better, right? Simple. This is like anybody who's, I think 18 might be a little young, but I think anybody who's 22 to 28, this is for you. This is the stage that you're at.
Yeah,
if you're not thinking about that, if you're not thinking about that now, forget it. You're not gonna make it to 34 and be like, oh, now, you know what I'm saying? Now I can afford it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right, bro. Because those are things you have to be realistic about. Dreams is for a different part of life.
Yeah.
You can't dream about a house and it happen. Like, you gotta buy that house.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Or you're on the boat where like a lot of people are, where your parents have a house and you're just sort of waiting for them to write it out. It out.
To each their own.
You don't have to. Like, your parents can help. You know what I'm saying? If you're in that position, like, down payment is always a big, because low income, low credit, you've got alternative lending options. Right. Down payment is always one where people are like, I've only got an extra $200 a month. If I'm gonna save $40,000, it's gonna take me 200 years. You know what I mean? Like, so this is where you start to look at, you've got family, you've got your parents are not going to pull out $20,000 out of their house for you to go blow it at a club, especially if that's all you've been doing through university.
For sure.
But if they're going to put it into a house, it's an investment. They understand, right? And not everybody's in a position to do it, but there are, if you can step back, swallow your pride, and look at this from an objective point of view, there are more options than just what you're faced with. I'm rewatching Suits.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever seen the show.
Yeah, a couple seasons.
Yeah. And one of the things Harvey Specter says is that when someone's pointing a gun at you, you've got 128 different options, right? Like, just getting shot's not one of them. And so that's kind of how you have to look at life.
Agreed, bro. Those options.
Yeah.
If you got options, there's somewhere to go. There's something to do.
Yeah.
Something to try.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Bro, this is a fucking amazing conversation. We're at about an hour. I want to give you the chance to talk about anything you want to promote, anything. Floor is yours.
Appreciate it, man.
Go for it.
I mean, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and it's just the state of the union, the world, my world, real estate, and there's so much pessimism. Like, yes, the interest rates are going up. Yes, home prices are up. But if you're, back to what I said, you have to take some sort of action if you want the outcome. If you're sitting here just complaining about it or waiting it out, riding it out, that's what a lot of people say, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. It's a lie that you're going to be ready when the time comes. You're not. If you start by then, there's already a ton of people who are waiting but ready.
Yep.
Right? Like, you got to be at the ready for when things pop off. So 2023, we're in January. This is a good time to say this. Create a plan. I talked to you about this. Create a plan for where you see yourself in 12 months, in 5 years, 10 years. But we had this conversation. Write down how you see and where you see yourself today. Everything. I have this. This is how much I have in the bank. This is how I feel. You know what I mean? Do I feel good about myself? Job, da-da-da-da. And then do the same thing 12 months from now with writing it as if it's today. Like,
yeah.
I have, if it's $5,000 now, I have 25 grand in the bank. I feel this. I'm in this spot in my career. And that's going to be your roadmap to your feeling roadmap. When you read it, you get a certain vibe, you get a certain feeling, right? It's not about, I have to do this, to do this, to do this. No, it's how do you feel? And then everything you do for the rest of the year has to line up with that feeling of like, I'm proud of myself, I'm achieving something. These challenges are taking me down the road that and prepare me for the thing that I want, right? And once you have that sort of perspective, you get to anything. So I think it's a good time to say it. Everybody's in that high, and we all know that by fucking Valentine's Day, it's going to start to cool down. So hopefully, take some action. Make this a year that's different. We've sort of been waiting around in a pandemic, and you do something, you don't do something. Yeah. 2020 was crazy because the opposite of what everybody thought would happen happened. And so we're in stable grounds. This is where you start to build that foundation that you're going to reap the fruits of in 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, depending on what your goals are.
Very good advice, man.
Yeah. I don't want to promote anything. That's, like I said to you, this is all about just building relationships. That's all it is. It's the reason I want to start the podcast. I want to meet people. The reason I'm here. And hopefully we can do this again 12 months from now and see where we're at.
Love to, bro. I love what you just said, because it wasn't just building relationships, it's also changing your life. Like, even just physically writing shit down sometimes, it's like, oh man, I felt this way.
Yeah.
Could look back on it.
You can see, the thing is, like, a lot of these motivational people online are doing objective stuff, like where do you want to be in a year? Break it down to 12 months, break it down to weeks, break it down to days, and that's what you do. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. But what if I don't feel well that morning?
Yeah.
What if I didn't meet my goal yesterday and now I'm fucking depressed about it? Right?
Yes.
It's good to have a list, a to-do list, but it's better if you wake up and you feel it, that you're like, yo, I'm doing the right thing, then the outcome doesn't matter.
Exactly, bro. And fuck, now I have another thing I want to say, but like, going back to your point earlier of like, you needed to do your own thing. I have that same thing. Sometimes our own thing goes against what a lot of people are telling us what to do, but no, I have to do this because it's what I need to do, And that's the thing where it's like, yo, not every decision you make is going to be right, but if it's really what you're thinking, sometimes you got to make that mess. Hopefully it's not, don't rob a bank. Mm-hmm. Don't fucking change your life. If this goes wrong, it's set you back years. But like, yo, if it's something you want to try it,
Yeah,
man.
you got. As long as it's not a life or death mistake.
Yes, exactly.
Then make it.
Make it,
bro.
man.
And in future dates we'll get into it. I've made plenty of mistakes. I've made more mistakes than I've had things right.
For sure.
And not just in business, like everything.
Life, man.
But it's the reason I can speak on why I'm here today, and it's the reason that I have the confidence to keep going and to end up where I know that I'll eventually end up. Because if I've made it this far, you know what I'm saying? Like, came from a third world country, fucking bullied as a kid in school, no English, had to learn everything on the go. I didn't finish university. Like, everything has been somewhat stacked against me. That's not true. But there has been a lot of things that have gone against me. When I say that, I'm talking about, I mean more like, I do, like Frank Sinatra's song, I did it my way. It's nobody can tell me different.
Exactly, bro. Yo, you don't live your life on paper.
Right.
Live your life in life.
Right.
Love that, man.
You're all right.
Nah, bro. Yo, I really, really feel, and that's why I want to have, bro, I had a tattoo artist, rapper, mortgage broker, actor. Like, the common denominator is doing your own thing and living your life, man. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You can meet a librarian that lived a fucking crazy life, bro.
Yeah.
And you can relate.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a universal language, living your life, you know.
And by that standard, you could be, you know, you could pick up garbage on the weekends and go home, have a warm family, a warm environment, and love what you do.
You have a whole life to live too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, bro. Shout out to Victor Cinco, man. Cinco Mortgages?
Victor Cinco.
Victor Cinco.
_ Cinco in most things,
Victor _ Cinco. Mortgage help. What else can people reach out to you for?
Anything, man. Anything.
Reach out, man.
I'm not a medic and I can't give legal advice, but outside of that, come at me.
Only on TV you play a doctor, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Brian behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Hugely important.
Yeah. We're gonna be doing a lot. We've had this conversation where we'll be posting a lot of knowledge, and it was not gonna be surface stuff. So we'll get into it, and I mean it. If you've got any questions, if I can help in any way, that's what I'm here for. So, yeah.
Love that, man. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you coming out. Versatile Vigilante. Like, subscribe, comment. You already know what it is. Let's get it, man. 2023. Big year.